Welcome, trolls. Bruce sees all.
Hi everyone, bonjour tout le monde. Bienvenue, welcome everyone. Another UFO, this time as low as the trees last night. Didn't get much of a clearing, but I was able to get a nice shot of this. The blob, right? It's a bright light. Look what's beside it. Yeah, there's an interaction beside it. Getting pretty cool, and these objects are pretty close. This object right now is not as low as the trees, obviously, but I'm seeing them through the trees, which means it is pretty low. Definitely pretty low. And it was around the house, again, the same thing as I caught with that other supposed satellite, which wasn't a satellite. And look what it's going to do. The intensity of light goes from very, very large to immediately very, very small. And watch it drift off, because you're going to literally just see it leave. But it came down. It did come down to see whatever it wanted to see. And it was very, very close to the house for the first time. And now you'll see it in size just either get small, but what seems looks like it's going further away, or dimming out. And there we go. It's completely dimmed out. So that was just, one UFO, or one of the lights that we see going by. Here's a couple of other lights that we saw, because the sky wasn't very, very clear yesterday, but that does not matter. We are going to the surface of the moon. We're going to see some very, very close-up anomalies on the surface. The vastness of our universe is far more grand than people think. It's big. It's huge. We're on the surface of the moon. On s'en va sur la surface de la Lune pour voir des objets construits. C'est tout simple que ça, mes amis. So, some of these objects look unnatural. They look like they were possibly constructed. Just my opinion. It is said, and it's been said for many years, that we are living in an illusion. Well, let me tell you, if it's an illusion, it sure is a very convincing one. And I think that's just all it is. Let's zoom up on the surface and look at a third area where I show once again craters that are made by these stepping stones, let's call them. They're pretty big objects, obviously. But we can see these square-like objects side by side right here, which is pretty cool. I've showed it beside Bienvenue crater before. Here's a 90-degree angle along the crater's edge. Several levels often that we see along the crater's sides. Objects in unison, side by side once again, with a haze over top and this beautiful, massive, elongated arm-like bent object that comes out like a faucet over the center of the crater. Notice the various bumps, or dots, if you want, that you're seeing on the surface in the center. Here, I'll get a circle up there for you guys. And you can see that the objects that are side by side have the same reflectivity as the surface. So it's very hard to say that something's on the surface when everything's just the same color, which is making people believe that some of these, if not most, if not all of these objects are natural. Well, I'm trying to say that they are not all natural. But again, just my opinion. Often I bring you down to the surface of the moon to show you the flickering lights on the surface. And by slowing things down and by analyzing what we're seeing beautiful signs of lights on the surface, light sources on the surface. I, for one, do not believe that it is the sun entirely that is doing all this brilliant oscillating lighting on the surface. But again, it's just my opinion. Every time you're going to be able to zoom up with your telescope and to clarify a certain object of a certain size on the surface of the moon, you'll see other objects appearing. At the beginning, there were less objects, and the more you zoom in with the telescope, the more objects you see. But then something happens, something magical. It's that the objects, the more you zoom in, at one point, you will be able to, as we are now, being able to see signs of how these objects or structures, natural or not, may be connected on the surface. Ruling out the fact that they all have the same reflectivity, say to yourself, I do believe, and I'm almost sure, that these objects are all of different colors. I've showed signs of lights on the surface, atmosphere, interacting lights, directional changes, UFOs on the surface, explosions on the surface, hazes, smokes, you name it, and we're seeing it on the surface. Different types, characteristics of different types of UFOs, but it's just beautiful, and again, a very convincing illusion. If life is an illusion, like they say it is, well, let me tell you, they would have definitely made it very convincing, right? But why would that have been done? Well, it's obvious. If you want animals in a cage to work a certain way, well, you're going to have to treat them a certain way and offer them some good stuff, right? Because that's how I see ourselves, trapped in a cage. Just a very vast, wide or broad, a very big cage that, the walls are very far away. What is this? A beautiful flash. It was one flash of several lights, and sometimes you see them choop, 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 flying across the sky, and there they are, or there it is. Maybe it's one object showing up several times in several frames because it's so fast, but they're there, right? We're seeing the proof, yes, we're seeing the proofs of all the signs of UFOs and the different things that we may see in space. It's all very real. We all have eyes, but when we see something, it doesn't tell us if what we are seeing is true or false. So the eyes is really connected to the heart and soul, that's for sure. And whatever your eyes are going to show you, your heart and soul is what will tell you the truth. But the secret is far more vast than people think. This is Mars, and this is an object, well, in front between Mars and Earth, obviously, because I'm from Earth, right? And I got this photo of a very particular shape, and it's a rectangle shape, a standing up rectangle. And it's what I've been seeing a lot amongst many other different types of objects. Look at here, a 3-4 light flash. Here again, the triangular lights that are all flowing over the surface of the moon simultaneously with another brighter object right there following it. So all these I'm capturing on the surface, and I'm showing the characteristics of the UFOs. Here's some amazing stuff. Under a haze or smoke, you actually see a line of light after a projectile, an illuminated projectile, came from this light ship. Now let's look even more in detail. Studying it even more in the same frames as the videos, in the same video, as the frames are moving ahead, other projectiles are coming out around these light crafts or ships or whatever they may be. But look here, a flyby, or what it's projecting, what it's shooting out are these lights, again, illuminated lights, and we see a group of them right here that pass by in one frame, and this is what's hard to show everybody. So basically I'm seeing rectangles and squares, and you can't help but wonder, and I've even seen some of these objects separate. This frame here, this photo, these two objects were traveling together, what seemed to be together, and then separated. Here's a close-up of one of the clearest frames that I got of one of the UFOs, but again, it's a raw, straight-up shot of what these UFOs look like. Here, look at this, the square that we see on the surface. That's one very precise still frame of a clear shot of a UFO shape. So now let's really get into the detail of these UFOs, how I'm saying that they connect together. What do I mean? Well, let's see it in live view, exactly what I'm trying to explain. So we see this beautiful UFO fleet flying by at very fast pace. These are the supposed UFO stations, I call them, to understand that there's UFOs lighting up in different areas, meeting up very quickly. So you see the square on the right will become soon a rectangle there already. So now two crafts, or whatever happened to this craft, leaves, and we just saw them re-separate on the left, another one coming back on the right, and there's the separation on the left. You see how hard it is to explain in just this little bit of frame. There's a lot going on, but you're understanding the principle. Do you understand the ideal of exactly what's going on? Some of these UFOs could be connecting together, right? Obviously, saving energy to be able to go into deeper space together. They would obviously connect themselves. Possibly, it's just a theory, but it's definitely looks like what we're seeing. But Bruce, are you sure they're shooting things out of themselves? Are you absolutely sure of this? Well, let's go see for ourselves. What do you think? Let's just look what we're looking at. We're seeing, wow, okay, intensification of the light in two different stages of this craft that's shooting out projectiles even many miles away. So we just saw that. Let's see it again. Projectiles, illuminated projectiles, but at the same time as this object is intensifying in light, we're seeing the light particles travel through the hazes on the surface and showing us other projectiles or objects further away, but in the surrounding area of this craft. Let's see it again. Bottom right, first sign of a projectile or light near it. Maybe it's not a projectile, right? Maybe it's just something close to the craft. Okay, but we do see that light intensifying. And look at the top left. Second stage of intensification of the light on the bottom right. And now top left, we see that object coming from the ship, a light ship, obviously, because there's a line from the ship in the haze under the hazes. So really getting in close and really slowing it down, all just to show you one simple thing, which is important. It's not the sun illuminating this object. Pow. Did you see that? And when I say pow, it's because it happened really fast. The illumination of the entire object occurred. And now the projectiles are coming from this craft, and we could see the lines in the hazes.